Welcome, people of the World Wide Web. So it is Cypher Sigma here. It is a Wednesday, and yes, this is the new series. This is back to the watch list. So anybody who doesn't know, who's new to this channel, essentially this is just what I've been watching over the past 2 weeks. It counts everything except for movies. You can find them in movie reviews, which are in my 2025 review movie playlist. So as always, I kind of like document show. So only a small amount of physical media, quite a fair bit of online stuff because I was away in Spain for part of this 2 weeks. So obviously you couldn't watch anything. So let's get into it. So we start off with a bit of online. So first we have the Millie Bobby Brown series or film Damsel. So Damsel is essentially a physical story where you have this dragon that lives within this cave, and they basically have to sacrifice 3 maidens to it, or 3 potentially princesses, and there's all a kind of underlying plot. Millie Bobby Brown stars as kind of one of these heroines made to be kind of a trophy or basically given to the dragon, but obviously she is not a damsel. She rebels, manages to escape, and obviously there is and for a CG Netflix movie, I quite enjoyed it. It wasn't the best. It was a okay to maybe a little bit better than okay family movie. Obviously there is dragon and people dying, so maybe not for the younger side of those of a family audience. I think Millie Bobby Brown did all right. His story was all right. It had quite a few loopholes, and there was some stuff that, you know, some of the acting was a bit dodgy in places, and some of the characters I didn't think worked that well. But overall, was, you know, as I say, kind of that fitting in that family genre. I didn't think it was too bad for that one. The next we go on to Bleach, but this is the 1,000-Year Blood War Part 3. So this is on Netflix, not Netflix, this is on Disney Plus at the minute. This is the 3rd out of 4 parts of the final story of Ichigo Bleach. Anybody who doesn't know, a Soul Reaper is basically a kind of the main protagonist. He becomes kind of an outer body creature, which is called a Soul Reaper, and his basically idea is to get rid of souls. This is kind of the final arc in that story of where it brings everything together, and you have this big bad guy and his like minions, and obviously Ichigo has his colleagues, and there's a lot of fighting, and it had quite a good, the animation is good, it's spot on, it's really, really nice. This is obviously a far newer series. I think the final part comes out maybe this year, maybe next year. It's tying it all up. You get to see different sides of some characters, you get to see some new powers, and it's just kind of bringing the whole world together, which I really, really like. Obviously a few people power up, and it's always quite nice to see new abilities. But glad to obviously knock part 3 out of the park on this one. They've only released part 1, so I do have to buy it because that's part 1 to 4 will sit in this little gap here, and then that will be every single thing of Bleach. As you can see, it's quite a lot. For the anime side of things, I probably should have stated that. We'll go on to another one. So the next one I watched was G2O. So this is on Amazon Prime. This stars Homelander, essentially being kind of a military hire, if that's so to work. And essentially is the G20s. You have all the nations getting together because the American president has come up with this plan to basically use kind of cryptocurrency and to sell it, or to work all together with all the nations to basically use cryptocurrency to fund famine in the whole third world, to basically feed the whole, so no one goes starving. In between this, Homelander's character, he basically hijacks a kind of code where they're going to kind of rip it off, and then once he gets this code, he basically goes to the G20 and holds everyone hostage, and it's basically the American president against Homelander, so to speak, but a human version. And I didn't think it was too bad. You have elements of the president's family, and you have some good acting. It's a good action movie. There's a helicopter scene which I thought wasn't necessarily needed for, but then it kind of led to a further development of the story, which I think worked quite well, and was a very, very enjoyable movie. It's from Amazon. I don't think it will ever get released, but it was a really enjoyable movie. Obviously, besides Homeland, the American president is played by the lady from How to Get Away from Murder. She was in the Suicide Squad, and I cannot remember her name for the life of me. But yeah, I didn't mind that. So we go into the physical media side of things. So first up is a steelbook that AJ hit me up, and this is the Expendables. As I said, I'm not a big fan of the front, but I really like the back cover. I think it worked really well. Rewatching this movie, I was really gutted in this because I'm a big fan of Terry Crews, even at that time, and Jet Li, and they really weren't in this for obvious reasons. Again, rewatching it, it does feel like, and I don't know, this is of me watching reviews and even with AJ and how bad number 4 was, but it almost feels like watching this as a standalone movie feels like a kind of misstep. Like maybe you need to watch 1, 2, and 3 together, and this doesn't really work as a standalone movie, even though it kind of is within the Expendables world. I mean, the new additions aren't too bad, but they don't get, with Ronda Rousey and stuff like that, but they don't get too much action. Obviously has, what's the young lad's name as well? Powell, Glenn Powell, he's in it, so it's quite good to see it earlier. I didn't realise he's a solo. Obviously Wesley Snipes, partly he was brought into it to be helped out after his financial worries and prison term. But it was alright, glad to have it in the movie still. I'm not going to pick up 4. It probably does deserve another watch. I still need a little bit of time before I get to that. So next up was from a pile of movies that I had procured from my wife. Her mother-in-law's neighbour was getting rid of a load, so she managed to go through them all and said, "Did you know this? I believe is the second Candyman film, Farewell to the Flesh." Kind of links a little bit into the first one, which I liked. Kind of the 90s horror-esque. And as I rewatching it, not really as scary as I used to think it was. Still wouldn't necessarily say it 5 times in the mirror, but that's just me. Tony Todd, it's good to see him in, how menacing he is and what a presence he brought to these sort of movies. Obviously, him passing but yeah, good to have that in the collection. I have 1 and 2 now. Whether I go further than that, I don't know at this minute because as you'll see, my Spartan series is ongoing. I'm trying to get rid of a load. So next up, we have CSI. So this is a series we kind of got back into with me and my wife. We like to watch it. This was quite fun. Has a great ending. So this is when Nick Stokes gets buried alive, and essentially the team have to rescue him. In regards to getting bitten to add to that, it is a really powerful ending. And I really like this with like these really big series where you have like murder cases, and they do vary from time to time, but then you get to this one point, and with the characters, they just make such a powerful story. And I mean, it's 2 episodes, so it's almost essentially like a film, but works so well. And when they find him at the end is a great relief. Nick Stokes obviously a great character in this. So the next up, as you can see, my anime has I bulked up my anime a little bit over this section. So one thing I had a little while ago was One Punch Man. So this is season 1. I've got to get season 2 and season 3 as released later this year. Great series, great fun series. Essentially, this guy, he trained and he basically kills everybody with 1 punch, and it's basically him going through life being too powerful, but then it's kind of people's reactions to him and how he's not in it. He just wants a good fight and he can never get it, and that's so frustrating. He has a cyborg kind of sidekick. They go through the registration act and stuff. It is a really good series. I remember 2 being changing the pace a little bit. And then obviously that will lead us on to season 3, which obviously will be out this year. So I look forward to seeing that. I believe that's on my list, so that helps tick 1 of those off. So as I said with CSI, obviously we did season 5, and here's the first part of season 6. Still enjoy it. Obviously this is then kind of a slight turn. Obviously after Nick Stokes, his character kind of goes for a bit of development. This has obviously Greg Sanders, a little bit more involvement of his character, and I think there are a few episodes that were quite good for him. But yeah, still enjoying the series. It's still going on. It's 15 series, and obviously to get back into it is quite good. Okay, so then next we'll go back to some Dan and Dan. So if you've got Crunchyroll, the next series is Dan to Dan, season 1. This is one that had been plugged to me loads and loads of times, and it is essentially about 2 kids in high school, a boy and a girl. The boy believes in aliens, the girl believes in like the mystic arts. They both send each other to a different area. Aliens attack the girl, a mystic creature attacks the boy. The boy gets kind of possessed. And then the girl figures out she has kind of mystic powers, and then it's kind of the two of them working together because the boy's now possessed by this demon granny. It takes a little while to get used to. There is another possession that comes later in, and the dynamics. It is very teenage fun, so to speak, as a series would go. The animation is really, really good. It's very interesting designs on some of the creatures and stuff and what they want, like they're after like genitalia and stuff. So there is more adult themes within this anime series, even though you don't necessarily see anything. It's more referenced to um, and stupid and silly, but it was fun enough to watch. I'm glad I actually got through and watched it. I'd be interested in what season two. I believe there's a movie coming out this year, and then season two. And obviously the series ends with it kind of setting up this movie. So I am interested, and I think the movie is kind of first few episodes of season two. So I'm interested to see where that goes. Hopefully my Odin will show it and I'll be able to watch it. So that was Dan to Dan season one. And then next up, one I purchased obviously to add to my list was the Minions, the Rise of Gru. So I forgot how much I really, really enjoyed this movie. And the one I really enjoyed it's all the different characters of the different super villains and how they work together against the minions. And then when all the minions get kind of super mystic powers, like a bunny rabbit and stuff like that. And that worked so well that the minions versus the villains was more the thing I really enjoy about this, and the designs and how they flow, I think works really, really well. For a kids movie, and the fact it was, this was the second Minions movie. I think this was, when was it out? 2022. So I think this was just before Minions 3. So essentially, it's the fourth film in the franchise of 6 movies now, I think, and I think we may get a Minions, so there may be 7. And to be honest, I didn't mind Despicable Me 3. Despicable Me 4 was a bit like going through the motions. So this was very much at a time that it worked really, really well. So glad to have that in the collection, and obviously almost finishes off that Minions Despicable Me collection. Next, we go over back to Disney Plus and X-Men '97. So when I had when I had Disney Plus last year, I only got to watch the first episodes of X-Men '97, and then that was it. I lost Disney Plus and haven't really touched it. Haven't gone back. So I went back to episode 3 and carried on. I have all the original series, and to be honest, it's a slow burn. The slight change in animation style, it looks almost the same as it does in the previous '97 series, but an updated kind of firm works. You can see it matches it, and obviously the voice work, and they've tried to get it as much, and they do really well. But you can for me, on an artist perspective, that there is, pardon me, a difference, and quite a notable difference from my side of things. But I really like that the fact the front is changed up. Like there are different villains that come into it, and they move different franchises. And you have like the Goblin Queen, and you have Mr. Sinister, and then you have Bastion, and then you had the Sentinels, and there's all these little bits that and I really like them changing up the credits. We don't get title credits in series and films a lot anymore. So I think going back to a 90s style and keep redoing that really, really works well. I actually thought this is done really, really well. The fact they're killing people off in this story, and how like they brought Xavier back and stuff, and you got to see so much of the world, and you saw Genosha, and you had other mutants that have been in the world, and I thought it did a good enough dive to kind of dip its toes within the X-Men world and to open up enough of it to, I look forward to where they will go with the next series. Whether it's good enough or not, I don't know and cannot say. It might just be the nostalgia and everyone's coming back to it. Some of the figures look all right, but I have all the figures of the normal versions anyway, so I won't branch off into that. But I do think it's a nice addition. I don't think Disney have released it, so it's a bit of a shame because I have all the original series. I would like to have this one to go with it. Maybe I'll have a look and see. Maybe there is somewhere in the world someone did release a copy. We shall see. So there is that. Then we move on to some movies. So first off, we have A Working Man. So I believe this is on Amazon Prime. So this is the recent Jason Statham movie that I think was at the cinemas at the beginning of the year. Essentially, he works at construction. He works with his family. Their daughter gets kidnapped, and then he kind of goes on this mission to get her back. and stuff. I thought was it was interesting from Jason Statham. It was enjoyable in places. It had quite a few big loopholes. I did like David Harbour as his blind friend and how he ammoed him up. And there was even some points where him and the young girl were shooting people and got a bit more better. And it shows you that obviously even the person that kidnapped him was a bit of an idiot. Um, but yeah, it was for me. Yeah, so one of the things kind of like it's the story of how like the person who kidnaps him, you get confused with his name, thinking it's someone's son, but it's actually an associate of someone's son. And there's different organisations, and he's going through all these different things, annoying more and more people, these different avenues, and you do get a little lost within the story of how it all interconnects and where it all came from. And it's all essentially just this bloke was filming girls and then they kidnap them for these weirdo people who basically want to do whatever they want with them. Um, and I say it's all right. It ticks the boxes for a Jason Statham film, but I wouldn't say it's anywhere near his best. I think some of the stunts and stuff that are good. Some of the decisions in the movie I don't think are that great. The young girl I think worked quite well with him. It's a shame they weren't fighting more throughout the film, where she only comes in at the end. But it is what it is. So we cut that off. So next one is one I missed from there. So is Running Point. So series one. So this is on Netflix. This is the I've forgotten what her name is now. Kate Hudson series. Essentially, this it feels a little bit like Arrested Development, but with a bit more of a serious tone within the sports realm. And essentially, she is part of a family. They run a sports business, a basketball team. Her dad passed. She's got three brothers. Her older brother gets basically takes drugs, has an accident, gets to go rehab, and she gets chosen to manage them. And it's all about the mishaps and stuff. And then they bring in like a half brother that they've got who kind of doesn't do a lot, which I felt bad. I felt he and kind of it starts off in the first few episodes, you're a bit like, meh, and I kind of was just watching the first half of it to just go through the motions, and that's how it very much feels. There's some stories, there's some reference in American and sports stuff, and I don't follow any of that, so maybe that is lost on me. But as you go along the way, you start to warm to the characters. I think near the end of it, where a lot of stuff changes, the new brother kind of comes more of a placeholder and realise that all the family are a bit of pardon my French, but assholes, but they kind of have a bit more of a humane on them. And then there's a few kind of interrelationships within the team. And they're like, there's this one guy who's a drug addict within the team, but I thought there's some scenes of him that were really, really funny and he wasn't utilized enough. But we shall wait and see how it goes. But yeah, I say started season one with just like by halfway was like I'm just running through the motions. By the end of it, actually quite liked it. I'm quite interested to see how season two goes. So that's Running Point. Interesting. I think it has been renewed for a second season, so I look forward to where that goes. Then we go into the last one of this chapter. This is Havoc. I think this is the Tom Hardy movie from Netflix. Essentially, he is a cop. He is a bit of a dirty cop. He gets kind of caught up within a young member of a Chinese family who gets killed. The family then come and seek revenge, and everyone's kind of killing each other. Then you kind of have Tom Hardy's past come out. His friends are kind of linked in with it. There are some chase scenes and stuff that they use very early on. They use it almost looks like CG stuff, but I think actually worked really well. It's a very gritty, very like almost noirish kind of rundown town in snow and stuff like that. And the setting actually works really well. Tom Hardy does do some great killing in it, and it is essentially the story's all right, but if you can kind of turn your brain off and Tom Hardy just killing a lot of people in a lot of random ways with some help along the way, then essentially this is what Havoc is. It is literally for its namesake. But I actually really, really enjoyed the movie. Again, it's a Netflix movie. I don't think they release much as well, so I don't think it'll ever get released because I'd probably buy it. It actually would have one of better Tom Hardy's action movies, regardless of the rubbish story, because obviously, he has his lot of issues. But some of the kills and some of the stuff he does, I think is done quite well. And And then that leads us on to the final one of this episode. So it comes at night. So this is essentially a kind of futuristic world with a family let in this kind of little housing community by themselves, and you see like the granddad's got black in his eyes, and there's obviously some infection that is out there, and that everyone's kind of living off the grid. You don't know what's going on with the world. Essentially, it's his family. So you have the mum, the dad, and the son. They're doing the best because the granddad's died, and they've got a dog. Throughout it, they come across another bloke who tries to break in because he wants supplies. This leads to them kind of bringing him and his family within it. And then, unfortunately, a virus strikes one of them down, and then kind of it all goes chaotic to the point of, at the end, they're more or less all infected and all going to die. It was all right. Again, this was from the list that I got, like Candyman 2. And in all fairness, it's one I'm not going to rewatch. So this will actually go with the Spartan collection. I will plonk this on the pile when this goes in the garage. It's not a bad, it's a nicely shot movie. I think it's good acting. It's just the whole story of there's a lot in the world left alone, and to go through kind of a 2 hour struggle of people. The dog gets killed, which I'm not a big fan of when they kill animals, but it is what it, sometimes I understand that has to be done. And then basically everyone dying by the end. It's not a really happy-go-lucky movie that I'm used to, and it's not something I'd really want to. I don't think I would get any more from watching it again. It was an all right to watch it, but it wasn't necessarily really enjoyable. And to say enjoyable that you could rewatch it again. So it is what it is. So that has been a look at of what I have, or back to the playlist, I should say. So loads I have got through, and loads to tick off. Obviously, series do take quite a long time, so that's why I haven't got as much as I have done. Is there anything in this episode that you like, didn't like, agree? Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below. Now, before we go out, obviously, if you've watched this video, if you've got this far through this video, obviously, as I say, put the comments in. There also is the like button. I'm putting there. It could be anywhere, or there is even the subscribe button. If you've come along and watched this video, if you enjoy my content, or you feel that it's something maybe you'd want to watch the videos, please do click that subscribe button. I very much appreciate it. The algorithm and everything working behind the scenes goes to show that obviously a bit more favoritism towards my channel, which is always appreciated. I know it's a small one, but any person that helps me grow is appreciated. Otherwise than that, thank you for listening to my little plea. I've been slicing the screen time. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I shall see you in the next one.